everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to share with you guys my labor and delivery story because I think it's a crazy one. So let's get started. So I went into labor. Well, let's move back. So I went into my doctor's appointment. I was 35 weeks and I went in the morning and I was telling my doctor that I've been having like real cramps instead of Braxton Hicks because the way I could tell because they were more painful. Braxton Hicks was just pressure, but these were actually painful, and I was having them like every 20 minutes and of the day before. So I told her about them and she's like, no, it's nothing, I'm not even gonna check you, which I think she should have. So I was like, okay, fine. I left the doctor's and I went to IKEA with my daughter, just to browse around because we just moved into a new house. So I was looking at things to buy for the house. And all throughout the time that I was in IKEA, I kept having contractions. And I just brushed it off because I didn't think that I would be in labor. And my husband, I called him to meet me at IKEA so we could like pick up some things because I couldn't carry them on my own, obviously, because I'm pregnant, and load them up in the van. So got some lunch with my daughter, waited for my husband to come, and then, we started walking around IKEA. And IKEA is huge. So we're getting stuff, planning things, getting our delivery done, whatever we were doing. And all throughout the whole time, I would have to like literally stop what we were doing and just be like, oh, I'm having a contraction. But my dumb brain didn't think that I was in labor. Well, looking back, yes, I was just going about my shopping trip at IKEA in labor, and all the walking probably pushed me more into labor. So we leave IKEA, we come home, we're like setting up our den room, which we were remodeling. I'm helping my husband like lift things, and it still didn't occur to me to like call my doctor because the contractions were getting really painful, and I'm like, I must be in like early labor, like I have plenty of time, you know what I mean? Well, early labor is a real thing. So yeah, I was in early labor and I was like, I probably have plenty of time, like, another day or two, because like when I went into labor with my first daughter, my water just broke. I didn't have any contractions. I was like, water broke, go to the hospital, have a baby. So yeah, my contractions, and it's at this point in time, it's like 6 o'clock, I would say. I was giving my daughter dinner, I was getting her ready for bed, and then I started timing them and on this app, and then they were coming at 5 minutes apart, and they were like, okay, you need to go to the hospital. But still, I was like, I don't know why I was so hesitant. I was like, okay, let me put my daughter to bed. At this point, they were so painful, like I couldn't hide them from my daughter anymore. She was like, what's going on, let me help you. She was so supportive and cute. It was adorable. And I was like reading her story, trying to put her to bed, and then like pausing and be like closing my eyes and not being able to talk and getting through the contraction and moving on. And then at that point, I called my sister and I was like, hey, I think I'm in real labor because I'm starting to make those involuntary noises that you make when you have contractions. And she's like, oh my God, okay. Because she's like all the way in New Jersey. I'm like, let me call my doctor. It's after hours. I call my doctor and I say, hey, I'm having really painful contractions. Like, can I go to the hospital? Should I go? And even they were like, okay, if you go to the hospital, if you're not at least like 4 centimeters dilated, like they're going to send you back home. I think it was 4 centimeters. I can't remember at this point because everything was such a blur after this point. So I called the doctor and she's like, okay, I'll call ahead, you go. So I'm like, okay, I'm probably not even dilated. I'm having all these contractions. They're really painful. Let me just, go to the bathroom, do my thing, change my clothes, get my hospital bag, call my sister. And then they started getting super painful. My husband is hilarious because I told him, okay, I have to go to the hospital, and I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and he starts like building my bed because again, like we are just moved into a new house, so like everything was still being in process in our room. He's like, oh, look. He started putting the mattress on the bed and starting to build it and put the light together, everything we got from IKEA. I was like, I don't care if the room is ready, like I need to go to the hospital. So I get my stuff, and actually I take a Uber to the hospital because my husband had to stay home with my daughter. And that was an anecdote that all the nurses shared with all the nurses when I got to the hospital. It was like the most hilarious thing to them. So yeah, I get to the hospital and wasn't quite sure where to go because I had never taken a tour there before. I just knew I had to go to like the children's department area. So I ended up going inside the children's hospital. I'm like, hey, I'm in labor. So I had a security guard walk me around the corner to this like hidden place where the women's delivery maternity center was. So I go in there, I walk in, and I just like bang my hand on the counter. I'm like, my doctor called in ahead and I'm in labor. And I just stood there and I gave her my name and literally just stood there like dying. They're like, you need a wheelchair, and I just like nodded. So they put me in a wheelchair right away. They did everything really quickly, which was really nice. They wheeled me up upstairs and I'm all alone. They take me into the, I guess, the maternity ER section. um so they put me in the room and they start monitoring me, and they had me lay on my back, and it just was so painful, and I did not want to lay on my back, but I was like, I want to be still because I don't want the monitor to move off. So I'm laying on my back, and then they check me and they're trying to like do the ultrasound to see if the baby is like head down, and they couldn't find the head. And they're like, oh, we can't deliver you, vaginally if your baby's not head down. I'm like, yes, he's head down. I had an ultrasound this morning because I was having weekly BPPs. So I had an ultrasound that morning. I was like, baby is head down. So then they decided to check me manually, and they're like, oh my God, like you have no cervix left. Like you need to go, like you're going to have a baby right now. And like it didn't click to me like that means like I have to go into labor delivery room. There I was like, okay, yeah, I'm here to have a baby. Like, where's my, room? Can I get my epidural? And they were like, we're not sure if you can get an epidural because it's time to go push and you have to go, you want to call anybody? And I'm like, what? Like, what is happening right now? Like, I just had started having contractions like intensely like an hour ago, and now I'm in the hospital. Now they're telling me I have to go push, and I'm like freaking out because I didn't plan to go into labor naturally. So they wheel me into the labor and delivery room. There's so many people around me. It's like crazy, and I'm just like, can I get an epidural? And like the one nurse who was like setting me up, she was like, the easiest way to get rid of the pain is to just push and like get the baby out. And I'm just telling them like, no, I can't do it. Like I want the epidural. So then I'm just like suffering in like silence and like going through my contractions, and they're trying to put an IV in me, but there's like 3 people ahead of me to get the epidural. And so they're just doing all these things, getting me ready for labor, people in and out. The on-call doctor came in, and she was telling me like, do you feel like you have to push? Do you feel like you have to push? Because like literally my baby was like falling out of me at this point. And I was like, no, I literally didn't. Like, I don't know, I've never been in natural labor before. I had an epidural like right away with my first, and I just felt the sensation that I had to like pee, but like I didn't feel like that sensation that you have to push, I guess, or poop. And I'm just like, and I hear the doctors kind of talking like, oh, she doesn't look like she's 10 centimeters, because I wasn't screaming in pain or anything. I guess I have a high tolerance of pain. So yeah, I decided in my head, I guess I just started pushing, and I did one push, I did the second push, and I screamed, and they were telling me, I remember I was screaming, and I remember them telling me not to scream, to push. And literally in my second push, my son came out. It was insane. He came out, and I just like was so in shock of like everything that just happened to me. They put him on my chest, and I'm just like, I just didn't even know, like I literally just had a baby. And I think I remember asking like, is he okay? Because I didn't realize if he was crying or not. They're like, yeah, he's fine, he's perfectly fine. And then they continued on my recovery process. And I did end up having a bunch of complications after my labor. Like I had um, preeclampsia. I didn't have preeclampsia during my pregnancy. I guess I developed it after my delivery, so that was like a whole nother saga. I had to stay in the hospital and be treated for that. It was really scary, really horrible, but everything's okay. I'm okay now. But yeah, that was my son's labor delivery story. He was born at 35 weeks. He was teeny tiny little peanut, born at 5 pounds and 7 ounces. He was only 19 inches. He was so tiny. And I did it naturally, and I guess once the baby is out, you forget everything, the trauma of the birth, the craziness of it, the pain and everything, and everything's okay. And I'm so happy that he's here. So yeah, that was my labor and delivery story. I really wanted to tell the story just to document for myself as well, because it happened like I felt like it was happening to someone else. It happened so quickly from the time I got to the hospital and from the time I had the baby. It was like 2 hours. It was crazy. Like, I was texting everyone. I was like, the baby's out. Like, he's here. And everyone was like, what? Huh? Like, how did that happen? So I guess, you know, when they say that second babies come fast, it's true. Alright, so thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!